This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Next up, we've got Mr. Kennedy and The Undertaker. They're going to go 9 minutes and 15 seconds in a first blood match. Mr. Kennedy is going to do the undo the padding on 2 turnbuckles early. And they're telling the story where Undertaker kept pounding Kennedy to the body until Kennedy was bleeding from the mouth. Kennedy delivered a low blow. Undertaker sold it and very briefly, and then was back on him. He rammed Kennedy's head into an unprotected turnbuckle, but Kennedy didn't bleed. After working the body for a few minutes, Kennedy was bleeding from the mouth outside the ring. MVP runs out with a towel, wipes all the blood off, but then throws Kennedy back into the ring at The Undertaker. And the finish would see MVP hit the ring with a chair. He goes to hit Kennedy, but Kennedy moves and he instead hits The Undertaker. The Undertaker is bleeding heavily. The ref sees it and stops the match, so Kennedy is announced as the winner. Kennedy is going to beat down The Undertaker after the match, and while Kennedy is going to taunt him with his whole name gimmick, The Undertaker makes his comeback. He makes Kennedy pay for the win by giving him what Meltzer described as one of the sickest chair shots you'll ever see. And Meltzer was pretty critical. He says, how can a company hire Chris Nowinski, who has become one of the major experts on concussions, both treated and untreated in sports, after a wrestling concussion on top of his football concussions left him unable to continue his career, and then allow stuff like this is a hell of a contradiction. I like the story of the match itself. 3 stars. If you haven't seen the chair shot, boys and girls, go watch it. Woof. It is an all-timer. What do you make of Meltzer's question of how can this be the same company that just hired Chris Nowinski?
Yeah, I think different time, different place, and was what it was. So, it is interesting. I think Chris Nowinski had a much better career after he left this business and football, and Chris has done an awful lot of good, and I praise him for what he's done. So
no doubt,
different time, different place.
Is this just, for lack of a better word, The Undertaker being a little old school?
Dude, I really don't know. I just was what it was. And
do you remember there being any quote unquote heat on anyone after the match?
No, again, this was during a time of transition. So this was a time as we're learning new things and doing different things, and was what it was. So
the WWE haters, and maybe Undertaker haters might say that at times guys were made example out of physically with these extra stiff chair shots and whatnot. And that's
just bullshit.
That's what I wanted to hear from your perspective. You give that no credence whatsoever.
0.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, on the one hand, it's hard to reconcile how people would believe that, but at the same time, so many people sort of consider him like the Godfather, right?
Who, the Godfather? Taker?
Yeah.
I think Taker's a leader, definitely.
Yeah. So it's weird that that's where people sort of wind up with it, that, oh, he does this, but he's the Godfather. So it's one or the other. It can't be both. And it's almost universal that he's the Godfather of wrestling.
Greatest of all times.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.